Welcome to the CASA 4x4. This 4x4 is driven by Grahame Dixie, Executive Director of Grow Asia. The 4x4s are 4 expert viewpoints with 4 minutes to share their views. What role do you think that governments can play in ensuring that investment in agriculture is impactful and profitable?
Governments are part of the solution. And one of the things that they generally overlook is that they are very keen, in many situations, to encourage foreign direct investments. And they have one-stop shops set up to encourage this particular process. What the science tells us and the research tells us is that if you want someone to be a responsible investor, the thing that all attempts at being responsible fall out of the window the moment they start losing money. And the results also show that typically the people who do make a profitable and an economically sustainable business out of this are people who are experienced investors. They have deep pockets. They have a very clear idea of the market opportunities that they're trying to fulfill. They understand and consider the investment they're making as a long-term one. It's not a short-term one. That if you want to attract better investors, treat the existing investors well. And that will itself be the best advert to bring in a better investor. And then to get down to the sort of details of then having screened out the rubbish, and you're now working with some interesting ones. There is the risk issue, and for a part of that screening process to look to see whether they have an investment which has some foundation that it's going to work, that this crop has been grown already, the yields are sufficiently high for it to likely to be profitable, that they may have done it similarly, that they're repeating a business model that they've used elsewhere. Then the next step is really that there are some pretty good there are a lot of guidelines around. I mean, what we see from the private sector is they're confused by the number of standards and operating processes that people are encouraging, but they come down to more or less the same things. There's only so much that you can do. You need to consult, you need to have a grievance mechanism to be able to ensure that the investor commits to carrying through on those particular processes without being too doctrinaire about exactly what they do, because they need a bit of flexibility when they're faced with the realities of the market or the realities of what the ground actually is able best to do. Some of those principles are being mandated and turned into legislation, but it is interesting looking back. So in Southeast Asia, when CDC first introduced the oil palm, they had the wit and wisdom to say, that's fine, you can introduce oil palm, and we've got sufficient evidence that we can get much higher yields than West Africa, so we're in a good position. But we do insist that, and it varied a bit between countries, that 20 to 40% of your raw material supplies comes from our growers. So that there is a piece there which can mandate the way they operate does make a difference. Because what we've seen with the oil palm operators is when they've gone back to West Africa, they haven't carried it forward. They've gone back to the larger state idea. So those are some of the things that governments can do to encourage better investing, find a better investor, not expose people to too much risk, follow some pretty good standards. And if you're confident enough, you can mandate them to involve smallholder farmers.
Visit the event page of the CASA website to see recordings of other expert viewpoints shared in the CASA 4x4s and webinar series.